My very good friend Bob, I had to thank him for inviting me here either 6 or 7 times in a row, and it's quite an honor. And also my very good friend Sonia Chang, the beautiful lady here, we should give them a big applause. Just before I get started, I want to say that on February the 5th, I believe, is it Saturday, February 5th? My predictions will be published in the Toronto Star 5 years in a row. Toronto Star plus all of the major Chinese media. The Mingpao Daily News, the Singpao, and the World Journal, and you name it, I don't know. And I most likely would appear on CBC, CTV, City TV. Last year it was on Toronto One TV and TV Ontario. Sometimes I wonder if I'm in this business or in the show business. But it's always exciting to talk to the world. I guess everybody should always set your vision to the world. All right? The world is getting smaller. In the old Chinese saying, you can cover the whole world in as small as a grain of a rice. That's the way they've been saying that. All right? Now, just to summarize very quickly, show the major events I said in the past. By the way, today is the 6th speech I've given for the new year, and I have roughly 20 more to go. The next major one would be at 8 o'clock p.m., that is, February the 4th. In the CNE, and I will be speaking to over 3,000 people that night, okay, including a lot of politicians. In 15 minutes, I had to say what the world will become. I think that would be the major challenge. But nothing was as much a challenge as I did in 1996 when I was a guest to the United Nations as a guest speaker, speaking to the World Conference of Mayors in Kingston, Jamaica, about how to use Feng Shui to change the cities of the world in the future to make them more peaceful and more harmonious. And it took them 4 years to act on my proposal to change Kingston. And now if you go to Kingston, Jamaica, you will see that highway strip from the airport to downtown completely different. And that's exactly based on what I said they should do. And they are about to change downtown as well. All right. Among my clients include quite a few prime ministers in the world, at least 2 generals in the army of Israel, plus the president of one of the 4 major banks in Moscow, Russia, and you name it. It's crazy. And the most exciting reading I ever done was for one prime minister. I was locked with him inside a house with 6 bodyguards heavily armed with machine guns outside the room. So I thought I better be correct. Before I could walk out alive. And last year was an exciting year too. I did a reading for the house of the 5-star general of Southern China for his residence in Southern China, and also for the prior general of the Navy of China in Beijing. So it's quite an honor to deal with those people. So every time I go to Beijing now, usually my chauffeur is a Liberation Army soldier. And when I'm in Guangzhou, it's also secret police who would be my chauffeur. So I feel well protected when I go to China or when I go to Jamaica. Usually in Jamaica, they have undercover to protect me as well. Amazing to do what I do. How did I have that kind of honor? So in December 2002, if you recall, I mentioned that there would be some major contagious illness about to come. And what did happen in 2003? You remember that one? The SARS. I did not know it's called SARS. All I knew was something major but contagious going to happen. All right? And same time in 2003, I said in 2004, we're about to see a lot of major problems would have to do with food. And what did we get? We got a mad cow. We also mainly get the aviation problems. Not flying, but the disease, obviously, and it does happen. But another major decision or prediction, a decision too, I said, well, about last year was there would be major rain and water, okay, hurricanes and rainfall in Florida, southeast part of the United States. Didn't happen. And I said there would be at least 5 major earthquakes in the world, and all those happened. I said there would be an earthquake in Chile, an earthquake at the north side of Los Angeles, that's for last year, and also earthquake northwest, and also northeast of Tibet, northwest of Yunnan. So it did happen. And also around Japan, and also Middle East, that's Iran. But one thing, because it's crossing 2 years, it's southern part of the Asia, that is Indian Ocean. But the crazy thing was last year, December 23rd, I gave a speech to 75 people in Richmond Hill, and I said, my friends, there's some major earthquakes on the way, and more to come in 2005. 3 days after I said that, bingo, the tsunami. So all those can be calculated. So you can say, am I a psychic or am I voodoo or something? I can frankly tell you, all these predictions are mathematically based. The whole world is not an accident or incident. In fact, if we have mathematical formulas to govern how a building should be built, how a legal case can be won, and also how the DNA can govern our human body, so there have to be formulas to govern our lives plus the world. And you just have to be a decoder. I'm just a little decoder, that's all. I found the formulas, I decode them. So between two teachers, would they come to the same results? Absolutely not. Because it's how good you are to decode them. So it's not all the same. Now, there are 3 major formulas we use to do the predictions of the world. And as a kind of philosopher, I humbly review my own predictions every year, line by line. If I goof something, I always study to find out why I goof it and what's the secret. And if I'm correct, I also ask myself why I'm correct. So that way, every year, I try my best to keep improving the predictions. And it's quite an interesting work. In fact, every year for the past 3 years, I haven't written a word in Toronto. All my predictions were written while I was flying to China, flying to somewhere in the world. So I wrote this year's predictions on 3 different trips. First one was as early as September when I flew to Beijing. The second half of the prediction I wrote it when I was flying to Shanghai. And the third one, I wrote it when I was going back and forth Miami. So I complete 2005 predictions in the airplane, thanks to Air Canada. Anybody working there? I think by the end of it, they granted me the platinum status. Now I'm an elite or super elite member because of that. So nice, I enjoy their Maple Leaf Lounge. All right. Now, enough with the advertising. Now, hey, have you ever read a book? And that book I always enjoy. The book has 3 words. Living is selling. Living is selling. Don't you realize you're selling yourself even when you're sitting down? You want to smile, you want to appear good, or you want to appear authoritative. That is selling. All right? Like even the homeless is selling too. He's sitting there looking poor, yet he's a millionaire. You may not know that. Okay? So he's going to collect all your pennies, and he has $1 million sitting under his pillow. Things like that. Only the city government will give them money sometimes, when you think about it. All right. Now, 2005 is a very interesting year. It's a year, the second year, as a matter of fact, into a different part of the world cycle. Now, the whole world goes on 20-year cycles. In other words, every 20 years, certain major phenomena will happen, and they will be somewhat different from other cycles. As a human being, we go through 10-year cycles. Okay, these cycles would differ from person to person. Within every 5-year cycles, we also go through 5-year cycles. And then we break it down to every year. And it's very crucial to know it. And as a matter of fact, I developed 3 formulas last year. And in my future book, I'm going to explain in great details what they mean. But I give you one of the 3 formulas right now. And then I'll tell you why I'm here today. Too far away. That's it. That's it. A plus B plus C equal to D. This is all we need to know about life. Now, a lot of people ask if we know so much about life, so much about the future, aren't we handcuffed, can't do anything? In fact, someone asked me yesterday exactly the question. When I had a radio interview last night between 8 and 9 p.m. Last minute call. I reached the radio station exactly 3 minutes before I started. I was really rushing because I got 5 people coming to see me from Boston last night to chart their lives all the way from Boston. They heard my name down there, they flew up to see me. So it kind of got delayed. All right? So the interviewer asked me, isn't that true that if we know the future, we got handcuffed? And I'll give you the same answer. It's the opposite. If you don't know your future, you are handcuffed. Because you may be trying to do something big when you are at the point of going to a low cycle. Or on the other hand, when you're about to go into a high cycle, you got too chicken to do it, and you miss the opportunities. When you look back at your past many years, didn't that happen? Sometimes you miss those opportunities. Sometimes you tread into new situations and fall in the trap and couldn't get out. It's always good to know the future a bit. If you do know the future, you put your life in your own hands. You become the master of your life, not the other way. If you know the future of the world, you become the master of the world and not the slave. So it's exactly opposite. Now what's meant by A, B, and C, and D? Okay, D obviously is a result. A is born with. There's nothing we can do about A. The moment you as an individual are born, your high and low points in life, what you're destined to do in your life, when you're going to get married, when you're going to get divorced, how many kids you're going to have, personalities of your parents or brothers, sisters, yourself, your wife, your children are all hidden in your date of birth with up to almost 100% accuracy. You cannot touch, you cannot change it. Anybody said you can change your life cycles from low to high, it's all BS. They try to cheat your money. It can't happen. But you can do B and C. What is B? B is called Feng Shui. The surroundings, where you should be, how you should correct where you are, your house, your business, to change energy. Okay? I had a very interesting example about half a year ago. A client of mine ran into a legal problem. Okay? He was caught using a stolen credit card that did not belong to him. That I don't know how he got it. He said he's innocent or something. And looks like he's going to lose the case. So he asked me to do Feng Shui in his house. I did. I said, call me within 3 days. But first of all, give me the day of the court case. And then call me 3 days before. So he did. I picked several days. I said, if it's a bad day, adjourn it. Don't go. If it's a good day, then go. So finally, we come up with a good date. And then the night before, I went to his home and did another set of Feng Shui. Then he called me a month later, wanted me to do Feng Shui for a new business he would do. Then he told me at the time, I asked him what happened. He said, when he was in the court the next day, it's as if he's dreaming. He didn't know what he was talking about, so he just question and answer and so on. He just felt like he's hypnotized or something. Suddenly it just said, case dismissed. Not enough evidence. So you can use the supreme form of Feng Shui to make things happen. That's the B factor. And they've done that quite a few times. What's the C factor? The C factor is the people side of life. What kind of people you should relate with, okay? And what kind of people will help you, what kind of people may harm you. This is C factor. Say we are on a low cycle A, but if you can maximize B and C, you can still have a high D. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, one of my students finished all her high cycles. Her next 20 years will be low. So if I would tell her bluntly, is she going to live? But I did tell her that she's on a low cycle. Forget about coming back up to a high cycle. However, there's something called a yearly setting. So every year you could be on a high year. And also you can use the B and C to change it or maximize the D. Within 1 year, because of the work, she'll now become the vice president of a corporation. A person without a high cycle. So you can make that happen. only if that person really listen and do it to the T. All right? So now we are about to step into a very exciting year. This year significantly will be better than 2004. So that's the good news. Now, as I said, there are 3 formulas governing the year. The first formula is called I Ching. I pronounce it Yi, I don't know why, but -CHING, Ching. In mainland China now it's QING, also pronounced as Ching. So if we standardize the spelling is QING, I Ching, meaning the book of changes. It's just the most original form of computer science, that's all. It's all 0 and 1. Okay, but that little book written close to 5,000 years ago predict the whole world. In fact, there was one book written about 3 to 400 years ago that predicted the world up to the next 3,000 years, right to the T. And very few people can decode it. I probably happened to be the lucky one. I was one of the few people who can decode the book. So you can come up to the names of things, like predicted exactly about the Second World War. Actually put Mao Zedong's name right there. You can pick those 3 words out. And when and what happened to China in the future, how long the same way of governing will be. It's all predictable. Even the June 4th thing was predicted. That was back 1,300 years ago. That means everything seemed to be planned, only because everything is mathematically done. So I Ching is a very powerful thing. For year 2005, the major thing is something called that's a major formula for 2005. You can see it. That kind of symbol is used in I Ching. The top 3 lines represent the sky. The bottom 3 dotted lines represent the earth. And the way we calculate the fate of the earth is based on 4 different cycles. And one complete cycle goes for about 168,000 years. So we are still with that, and that's called 1 yuan. And so when we talk about triple yuan, that's almost 500,000 years. Okay, so we are very tiny on Earth. Okay, now sky is solid, Earth is kind of dotted, empty. What does it mean to us? Right off the bat, we know what we are standing on is going to be empty. There will be a record number of earthquakes throughout the world for 2005, whether we like it or not. And where would these earthquakes happen? Then it depends on a separate formula. The second formula is called the flying star formula. In the flying star formula, it works out like this. That's the second formula. Okay. Oh. Thanks a lot. Hey, that's what a good friend is for. He knows what you're thinking about. He's reading my mind. Okay. Now the second formula, you can see it. The top part represents wind. The bottom part represents mountains, wind and mountains. The meaning of the second one is gradual. The meaning of the first one, the left one, is difficulty. You say, how can difficulty be good? Aha, you cannot use the word difficulty. You have to know the meaning of it. Now, for the first one, that means anything will go to very extreme black and white, nothing in the middle. So, for example, if a country is on a high cycle, the escalation of the country will go faster, like a rocket. If the country is on a low cycle, it's going to sink even faster on the low cycle. So it's nothing gradual. It's very extreme. Now, I predicted there are 4 major developing countries that are going to really fly this year. The first one, number 1 in the list, will be China. Number 2 in the list is India. And number 3 is Brazil. Number 4 is Canada. So these are the 4 fastest growing countries in the world for 2005. Oh, great. Okay, thank you. A friend in need is a friend indeed. See, next time you know where that gold mine is here. It's behind the screen. All right. Now, what about the second formula? Second formula is interesting. The meaning is gradual. But things are not going to happen overnight, even though it's extremely fast, but to the world, it still appears to be gradual. So you're going to see toward the end of the year, there's a very high possibility that the Chinese dollars will have to be forced to hook up with the world. So if you're holding some Chinese money, don't spend it right now yet. You may make quite a fortune there. All right? Now, this one is called the wind, which is the governing power for the year 2005. And it's very important for the world. Number 1, the major weather pattern in the world is the word wind. It's going to be a very windy year. Now, which part of the world will suffer the most for the wind this year? Surprisingly enough, the central part. You're going to see a record number of tornadoes in the Midwest of the United States. Okay, and it could hit as far out as Barrie and also central Ontario and also lower Alberta. All right, so if you're traveling, you better check it out before you go. But it's fun always to have a free trip up the sky and down here. At least you don't need to pay. All right, just a little exciting. Well, you pay at the midway of Wonderland, is it? To get the hell out of your heart. So at least this is free. You don't need to pay. All right, so another important thing would be the north and south extreme. So we almost have a repeat of the weather pattern of 2004, as I said last year. That is, the northern part will be drier, cooler throughout the summer. The southern part of the world would be wetter, windier throughout the year. So almost like a repeat. So in other words, don't expect summer too hot in Canada. But if you want to be real hot, go to the southern part. All right. Now, this also governs the way illnesses are going to spread. The major health factor next year will be something to do with wind versus 2004, which is food. So most illnesses are wind carried. So number 1 would be you would have to pay more attention to things like mosquitoes. Be careful about that. Aviation illness, birds this year. All right? I don't think the SARS will come back, not for a long shot. Okay. So don't worry about it. But these 2 are the major things to do with illnesses. So compared with 2005, indeed, it's a healthier year. You don't have too many things happening. Because 2004 was dangerous. Number 1, it's the beginning of a new cycle of 20 years. Number 2, everything goes back to its original position. All the forces are doubled up. So extreme. But this year is going to ease off. Now, the next thing you should be aware of, the power centers. Now, where is the money center for 2005? When you go home, you should do it right away. Or when you do it in the office. The money center, the wealth center, based on these 2 formulas, is due south. South is the money center this year. That means you may want to, when you go home, you may want to put a piggy bank right at the south end of the house. That means if your house is facing south, you should do phenomenally well this year. Okay. Talk to Paul who's selling houses. And that also explains why Brazil should do very well this year too. Brazil is going to have actually a lot of high tech in it. So number 1, the best center is due south. What's the number 2 best center? Due north. North is a happiness center. What is north? North is 2 major countries, Canada and Russia. Obviously, we are way ahead of Russia. At least we have the hidden KGB, not the obvious ones. All right. So Canada, we're in the right country. There would be a lot of happy events, and it would be going fairly comfortably. Yeah. Another great thing about Canada is our politicians are more or less hands off. And most of them are not that competent anyways. That's great. If they're too competent, we're in trouble. Yes?
So you're saying that in 2005 we are not going to face a federal election?
Oh, even if we do, the liberals will come back, so it doesn't matter. Waste of money anyways. The liberal will come back for at least actually, most likely 2 more terms. Whether we like it or not. Based on the life cycle I calculated for them. In fact, in 1993, I actually make the prediction that the PC would lose. Because of that, I ran politics too. I ran for the member of parliament in 1993 for fun. You see how it felt like it hurts. But it's always good to do it because you have to, when you want to go through life, you should have a taste of everything. Good, that is, not bad. All right. People ask me, I already said I would lose, why would I run? I said, why not? It's an experience in life that money cannot buy. You should do it. Everybody should do it. All right? Now, and then what's the most negative center this year? The most negative center this year is Northwest. Northwest is called the 5 yellow center, which would mean a lot of disasters. Okay, money problems and health problems. Actually, among my predictions, I'm predicting that Mount St. Helens may burst again for this year. Northwestern United States in Seattle. Okay, right there. Have you guys ever seen that the mountain in Washington State? Exciting, eh? Has anybody ever been to Seattle? When you fly into Seattle, what do you see? A mountain on your left side when you're approaching Seattle. That's quite a scary mountain. I always said, what if that little thing bursts? There's not much of Seattle left. It's right there, right outside Seattle, huge mountain. Okay? I've done quite a bit of Feng Shui in Seattle. In fact, I did a Feng Shui of the house, 3 houses down where Bill Gates lives for a client of mine. Now, so Northwest is a little tricky, but it also has some fire sign in it. That's why I'm talking about volcanoes. But that also means the northwest side of Canada may have a lot of forest fires. That would be northern British Columbia and northwestern Alberta. So those governments, if they hear what I have to say, they should do the preparation, hopefully, if not to avoid it, at least to minimize it, if they would do it. Okay, so it's a tricky center. Another fairly tricky center is East. East is called the Triple Conflict Center for 2005. So that's why I'm predicting some earthquakes, if not major, around Japan and Taiwan, most likely within the next 60 days. Okay. So it's coming. All right? And so that's now another interesting thing about Southeast. What is Southeast? Southeast is a controversial center this year. There will be a lot of debates, arguments between Taiwan and China this year. I said last year that Taiwan will begin the dialogue with China as early as the beginning of 2004. And eventually the earliest time to go back to China and unite will be 2010. The eventual year will be 2014. And then by year 2024, Outer Mongolia would also come back to China. So China by 2024 will be one country instead of 3 parts of the country. So now I'm predicting the future. A lot of you, I would say all of you, should be able to live and to judge history. And back to the future. All right? So that would be an exciting thing to observe. But one thing good to see China so united is China is a very peaceful country. So China doesn't like politics, it likes money. So when it does well, everybody makes money. No war, no fighting. Okay, unlike the United States, which likes both money and power. That's why it hurts. unfortunately. Okay, so that's one prediction. So what about the south side? South side in Asia is Hong Kong. I remember I predicted that back in 1997. My article was actually published in the Ming Pao in 1997. I said that day when China taking back Hong Kong, it was quite a rainy day in Hong Kong. I said Hong Kong would have to suffer a total of 10 years of low cycle. With a catch, 2004 is going to have a midterm spring upwards. And then 2007 is going to do quite well, even though may not be as well as it used to be, but not bad. Now look at Hong Kong, 2004 did very well. And 8 months ago when I was in Hong Kong, actually, was it 8 months? March last year, when I was having dinner at the Hong Kong Club in Hong Kong, I told the son of a good friend of mine, who was a former senior vice president of Hong Kong Bank. And I told his son, you should buy an apartment immediately, don't wait. He said, yeah, okay, and so on and so forth. At the time, that apartment was only $2.6 million, Hong Kong dollars. For whatever reason, he didn't act on it. And 2 months, actually last month, he came over to visit the parents in Christmas time. I asked him, did you buy it? He said, no, too bad. Now it's over $3 million. And I already said it. It's going to go up. It still continues to go up until 2007. So it's one of the sure bet investment. Another good investment from that point in Southside again was about 3 years ago, I helped a client of mine in West Palm Beach, hunting for a space to do a grocery. And we found one in a kind of rundown plaza that's asking $560,000 US. I said, Sharon, grab it. You'll be sorry if you don't grab it. In hindsight, her husband decided to put $7 million US to develop a supermarket, the largest in Jamaica, in Kingston, and still hire me to design for them from a Feng shui aspect, before the architects got involved. And so he did. I said, well, too bad, you should put your money in Florida and not in Kingston. And actually 2 weeks ago, we talked over the phone. I said, Sharon, how did it go? He said, I can't go back now. I said, why? The same place is now close to $5 million, or almost 10 times. Only 3 years. And I said, I already predicted it's going to go up, you should have done it. In fact, my predictions were published in a newspaper in Miami that year. And those who read my predictions today would be very easily become a millionaire by now. So it can be predicted. Okay. It's very easy to become millionaire, it's nothing to be. Today's millionaire, tomorrow could be very broke because the dollar keeps going down or something. Or whatever. So remember, you have to know where the cycle would be, how it works. Because Florida is the place to be if you want to invest in the United States, and if you want to invest in Canada, two places you may want to consider. The major one is Toronto. Okay, major one. The second one, to a minor degree, is Ottawa. Don't touch Vancouver. Vancouver is twice more expensive than Toronto. And 1993, I predicted that there would be a major earthquake within 50 years in Vancouver. So 11 years elapsed. Within the next 39 years, you're about to witness a major earthquake around Vancouver, and they are not prepared. Okay, not like San Francisco. Now, what about the southwest side? The southwest side is a romance center of this year. Romance meaning people relations. That means there will be a lot of traveling. If you are in the travel industry, try to target southwest, which is nice. Okay. That means there will be a lot of movements of people as well. What about the west side? West side is interesting. West side this year is called the receding, a little bit receding. And also governed by the number 6. Number 6 means war as well. And the west is classified as metal, and the representing country is United States. That means 2005, the U.S. is going to get involved in more world-front battles and wars rather than less. I don't know how they can afford it. But anyways, that is going to happen. Instead of pulling out, they have the best chance in history to get out of Iraq. They didn't take it. And I said to news media, the best way they should have done is pull the troops out of Iraq and say, for humanity reasons, they are sending the troops to Southern Asia to help the tsunami, victims. Very glorious way to get out. We're plight. They didn't do it. Okay. So they're going to be stuck. And on top of that, Iran and Syria are the two countries going to get involved in the mess this year. More so. So 3 major countries in the East are going to get involved. And the northeast side was a money center for 2004, now it's receding. That means it's stable, but it's not really going too fast. So be careful about that one. Representing that in Canada will be Quebec. That means the liberals in Quebec are going to suffer some setbacks this year, allowing chance for the separatists to come back in some kind of power. But the separatists will never be able to be independent, at least not during this cycle. That means not in the next 19 years. Okay? But this 19 years coming favor convergence, not divergence. So separate. All right, so that basically covers the major locations in the world. Now, what about businesses? Now, the major best businesses would have to do with fire, earth, and metal, and no good is water and wood. We classify everything under the moon with the elements. Okay, now what is meant by that? For the past 4 years, I have been going against the CHMC or CMHC. Which way do you put it? CMHC or CHMC? CMHC. Some of the, what is the Canadian Navy called? They're very similar. I always get them mixed up.
C is Canada.
Yeah, I always see something.
M, mortgage.
Oh, is that?
Housing.
Oh, okay, see, we got an expert here. But there's a name like that for the Canadian Navy. I forgot the name.
HMC.
Or something like that. Confusing. This
HMCS.
I thought only IBM has them. Okay, CMHC. Okay, we got it correct. For the past 4 years, they kept saying that this is going to get busted, it's something like that. And people kept saying that it's overpriced, the balloon is going to break. Only because they haven't seen the world. We are very cheap compared to the world. We only have the price of Vancouver here. I was in San Francisco twice and Los Angeles once last year. San Francisco and the surroundings, incredible. You ever try to go up to Lake Tahoe? I think the average property price is in excess of $2 million US. Okay? We are nothing, we're cheap here. We're cheap here. And we have the best country in the world. This is called paradise. If you want to make it sound good, if not, it's a refuge of the world. Also sounds good. Okay? Now, Toronto is governed by 3 major water dragons, 5 major land dragons, okay, and 7 powerful dragon dens. So this city is not going to fail us for long shot, except we are silly politicians, that's all you can help it. That's all we say. Now, in Toronto, the real estate is going to be governed by T. T for Toronto. For 2005 only. Beyond that, I haven't calculated yet. So the way Toronto is going to grow is based on the letter T. T, or if you look at the word T in front of you, the right-hand upper corner of T is Unionville. The center part of the T is Richmond Hill, all the way up to the limit, almost to Aurora. The left-hand side is Vaughan, and the center side of the T is Willowdale. The bottom side of the T is where we're standing, downtown Toronto. Anywhere along the T is going to do extremely well 2005, real estate-wise and so on, and commercial-wise. Outside the T, they will suffer. Scarborough will suffer. And Etobicoke and also Downsville will suffer. Who said life is equal? Some people are more equal, that's all. All right? You are going to see enormous amount of crime in Eastern Scarborough this year. Because the eastern part of Scarborough is governed by the forces of triple conflict and controversy. So lots of trouble up there. Mugging, gunshots, drugs, growing marijuana, record year. Isn't that a good money-making business? To catch them, or to be a lawyer to protect them. Okay, so that would be Eastern Scarborough. Western side of Toronto, ups and downs, but still little problems, like a lot to do with guns. I don't know why we allow those guns to exist. Okay, so all those are happening and will happen more so through the year, unfortunately. So that means if you live in Scarborough, if you're a lady, whether you're good looking or not, try not to walk alone at night. Because when it gets dark, they can see how you look anyways. Okay? So be careful about that. Serious warning. Now, fire business had to do with high-tech communications, computers. We have seen the .com getting busted, but not all of them. Those who survive are doing better. Now, the fire side is coming into the converging mode. We are about to see a record number of high-tech companies emerging this year, including communication companies such as telephones and so on and so forth, and very major. And even more major is on the technological front. A lot of technologies are becoming one hand, that's it, just like this. Everything in one. Your organizer, your telephone, your girlfriend, wife, whatever's pictures, and also your spreadsheet, your Word, amazing, all in one. And to make things more exciting, you plug in the computer, even the viruses love them, they attack them too. That means they are in honor, all right? If you're too small, they don't attack you. You have to be big for them to attack you. Okay, so those technologies are getting more and more so. And something is going to gain kind of power. That is remote control of your home. If the technology is there, but it's going to get in popularity. For people like myself who travel around the world many times a year, it's always good to use my telephone, plug a few buttons, and look at everything that's going on in my house, and control everything happening there. It can be done. Joseph can tell you how to do it. Okay. In fact, he's setting something up for my other house, so I can control my Willowdale house from my Richmond Hill home.
Can you figure out how to feed a parrot like that?
Ask Joseph. Okay, and all those are happening, and you're going to see crazy things happening. And in fact, another breakthrough in technology coming very quickly is anything moving may become obsolete. I mean, recorded media. See, we move from the tapes to CDs, and then to the DVDs, and so on and so forth. The eventual technology is none of those crap, because anything that can move will age, and will be going through wear and tear. The eventual is what you call solid state, just like a little chip. That's it. Okay, but right now it's not feasible because they're expensive. One day they'll be so cheap, like 30 cents per piece. Wouldn't that be nice? And your grandchildren can listen to their microchip about the grandfather's whole life. That's done by Master Pauline or something on a chip. And after so many years, hopefully everything turned out to be true too. So things like that is happening. So it's a very exciting year. Why? Because the governing power of 2005 is number 4. 4 stands for scholarship, for innovation. Something to do with the brain, the head. So a lot of that will be happening. And all those are classified as fire categories. Now, what about Earth? Earth is real estate. That brings back to what I said 5 minutes ago. Real estate will continue to do well, except in Toronto, just the letter T. But so you're going to see things going up to 10% growth within the T, but probably up to 10% downturn outside the T. So what a contrast. What a contrast for this year. Okay? It's because of Earth. Earth would also represent pharmaceutical products and medical field. That means for change, the doctors will make more money this year. They are going to fight for more money and they will get it. Okay, unfortunately. You know the major problems of the OHIM system in this province or in this whole country has nothing to do with government funding. It has to do with doctors being too greedy. Have you ever seen a doctor live in a shed? Haven't seen one yet. Have you seen doctors living in a mansion? I've seen too many of them. And quite a few of my clients anyways. But you always wonder where they get the money from. And they do. And how many people can they heal? Major illnesses, in my opinion, very few. Colds, you will cure anyways without them. But you like to go see them because they make you feel good. Psychologically, you feel better and you get well. For all they do, they can give you vitamin C. And you feel is, wow, God sent pill. See, as North Americans, we are brainwashed about the magic pill opinion. If you're sick, a magic pill, you get well. Economy going down, a magic pill will go well. It doesn't work that way in reality. Unfortunately, we're brainwashed to believe it. So that's the Earth side. So doctors are getting more power and more money this year. And also, ladies are going to do well overall. What about the metal side? Machinery, okay. Automobiles, airplanes, those will do well this year. The best stocks to watch for is Bombardier and Stelco. Haven't seen the chance in the past 30 years. Now the chances are here. They are not going to be wiped out on Earth. Like last year I said, there's no way Air Canada will be wiped out. You'll be silly not to buy Air Canada. Did my prophecy come true? You know why Air Canada did not go under? Because of the word Canada. You know why Bombardier will not go under? The key word is Quebec. Okay, that's it. You know why Stelco won't go under? The whole world has to be reconstructed. They need more and more metal. Stelco's problem is they cannot manufacture steel. They only kind of polish them. That's the problem. But mining companies for steel, people with scrap yards of kind of pound size of cars and ships will do very well this year because a lot of metal will be needed. All right? So a lot of airplanes will be sold. Bombardier will go out of this doldrum. And also lawyers will do very well this year.
Yes. You wake up now.
The reason is the legal career is classified as metal. It's amazing. Metal, M-E-T-A-L. Listen to the word metal. If you're not careful, it becomes mental. It's a fine line there. Sometimes it's hard to pronounce it correctly. All right? I think they are brothers or something. Okay, now, this is interesting. In 1993, I researched 12 major politicians in Ottawa. Out of the 12 guys, 11 of them, their life category based on the date of birth was metal. Only one was not metal and was earth. Guess what that was? Mr. Beatty, Perrin Beatty. It's never appearing to be like a politician. Later on, he became the head of CBC. Remember that one? Yes. He's the only earth guy. Every single person was metal. Kim Campbell was metal. Sean Plesser was metal. Mulroney was metal. You name it. Amazing. And most successful lawyers are metal. Metal is administration, management, and judgment. Okay, so they would do quite well this year. On the negative side, what is classified as clothing industry? In Toronto, the clothing industry, or in Canada in general, may not do too well. If you are in that business, you should prepare yourself. There will be some labor disputes, but to make things worse, products are hard to sell, or your customers not paying you if you are in wholesale. So if you're in the clothing industry, be very careful this year. Another good business is Chinese medicine. there will be enormous arguments in this year about Chinese medicine during the legalization process. According to my predictions, everybody wants a piece of the pie. The federal government wants it, the provincial government wants it, even the city wants it. They want more income. They want to have more income. Believe it or not, and see if my prophecy will come true. If I'm not mistaken, even the city want to classify Chinese medicine field at the same level as the pornographic field. It would like the massage parlor. Okay? And the things of that nature, amazing, crazy people, isn't it? Crazy politicians. But that's happening. Okay, for this year. I hope they won't get it, but there will be a fight going on. And eventually it's going to do well. As we know, Chinese medicine is the best thing to put your body in balance for long-term cure. Western medicine is something that hit the symptom fast to allow you time for the Chinese medicine. So when you combine the two, that probably is the optimal picture. Now, water business has to do with drinking. We are going to see this marketing stuff repeat again this year. Somewhere in the province, somewhere in the world, something to do with water. So when you drink your tap water this year, take my advice for it. Either you should boil it, or you should have some bottled water instead, just in case. Just in case. You don't want to be hit just once. Once is too much. So the water side. Okay, so water business is a bit trouble. That would also include the liquor business. There's a lot of problem with liquor. So that covers the business side of the world. Now, with the remaining time, let's just briefly touch on the science. Anybody interested about the horoscope science?
Yes.
I always hate that one. This will be a quickie. Now, what's the year coming up? Rooster. Who's a rooster? No one? Rooster people born in 1945, 57, 69, 81, 93. Who's born in 93 here? Guess what? I gave you a little bit of statistics, guys. 1.5 weeks ago, Toronto Star interviewed me for almost an hour over the phone about the predictions of the coming year. And interesting enough, they read some books and had a certain description about the rooster people. And I told them something completely opposite. I said, roosters are not like that. I told them what I think. I said, I can justify what I said based on my database because as of today, I have charted the lives for about 9,900 people. Okay, I began keeping records in 1991, so it's about 13 years. And the numbers keep growing. Now average about 1,000 to 1,500 people come to see me throughout 58 countries from word of mouth. Okay, to seek an advice about their life, what to do about their life. All over the world, all kinds of nationalities. And people come and see me all the way from some funny place I never heard about in Russia or somewhere in New Zealand. Heard my name and flew to Canada to see me. Okay? Now, the crazy thing about that is I looked at my database since I wrote my own system, since my background was a computer scientist from Waterloo back in 1972, years ago. And so on my database, I found 8.3 of my clients are born in the year of the rooster. From 1933 to 2000, not quite this year yet, they're not born yet, but will be, to 1993. So 8.3 is quite a vast number. 8.3 times 9900, you know how many of my clients are roosters. And tell me, whoever give me an answer, get a prize from Bob. But based on them, I know what they're like. But the way we use the horoscope is not the same as Western calendar. I found out with the Western horoscope that I was obliged to study. As a philosopher in my trade, I had to study different methods over the world. So the first thing I studied was the Western astrology. I had to understand very deeply how it works before I studied our part. And our part, there were 3 major schools, out of which I selected one as my major. It's almost like going to a PhD program to really study it the proper way. So you have to be a really knowledgeable academic person to really study, not like those like gypsies or something, the psychics. They give you one thing today, something else different tomorrow. But this is all driven by mathematical formulas. Now, so we use the 12 signs to govern the repeat of the year. Now, so we use two major words. One word governs the yin and yang on the top side. The bottom word governs the 12 horoscope signs. So when you combine it, there are 12 horoscopic signs. When you combine the number 10 and 12, so every 60 years we would have a complete repeat. So sometimes we say every 60 years the world repeats itself, something like that. But it's not the same. The world works like a spiral. We keep moving, all right, upwards or downwards, depends. Now, rooster year, in order to understand that, we have to understand the traits of a rooster. Rooster can talk a lot, right? Have you ever seen a cock that doesn't make a sound? Talking a lot. When they talk so much, nonetheless, it would have a lot of controversies. So among a lot of signs, there would be controversies. Roosters are beautiful, isn't it? Sometimes they look like peacocks. So it says beauty of romances, people relations, and also dominance. Couldn't care less about other people. So that's the dominance of a rooster. So if you're born in the year of the rooster, a lot of people thought it's good. Some people thought it's bad. I would say it's not bad. Because the rooster people will run into changes this year, but money sign is not good for the rooster. Okay, arguments are there because they like to argue. So if you have friends or yourself born in year of the rooster, keep that in mind. Just focus to make money instead of arguing. Now, the sign opposite to rooster is the worst sign this year. Because we say in terms of year, if the sign would belong to the year, it's usually quite neutral, not good, not bad. But if you're opposite to the year, it's very dangerous. So if you're the sign like rooster, the key things you may get sick and tired easily, because the governing sign of the year is like that big guy sitting in the chair. And if you also belong to that sign, you have no chair to sit on, so you get tired, you get sick, you make wrong judgments. But if you're the one sitting opposite to the big guy, you're blocking that big guy, you're going to be punched out, you're going to get sick, in accident, and lose money because you got to get cured. So, and the opposite sign is a rabbit. Rabbits are 1939, 51, 63, 75, and 87. So if you're born in the year of the rabbit, you better seek the help of a master about how to cure it. Okay? And avoid gambling, avoid speculations. If you don't know much about the stock market, you better not touch it.